Kids, today's video is going to be called It Is to Me. And here's the premise of It Is to Me. And I'll tell you how I got to this subject. A few days ago, I was feeling kind of down. And I was on YouTube. And YouTube recommends, based on all my subscribers and people I subscribe to and things I tend to like to watch, it recommends videos to me randomly. Some from my subscribers, some from subscribers of mine that have watched other things, etc., etc. So it kind of matrixes in and filters through things that I might or might not want to see. And there was a video about somebody coming out. It was 51 seconds long, and it was a kid coming out being gay. So, I'd seen, videos like this before, so I thought, you know what? I had time, what the hell? Why not just take a look and see what this kid in 51 seconds had to say? And he seemed rather forlorn. He had kind of a chunky build. He seemed young, maybe 13 to 16 or 17. And he didn't seem all that gay or happy about being gay. He just seemed to be kind of resigned to it and not kind of overwhelmed by it. So I felt the need to leave a comment on his video, basically saying, from living my life, don't make sexuality your whole life. Just make it a piece of your life, because that's all it really is. Don't make more of it than it has to be. And second, I told him, you look young, be careful for predators, because they're out there in every facet of your life, from infancy all the way till death. So those are the only two words of wisdom I could really partake with him. Now, being that I was in this funk, and it wasn't like I was still like mobile and moving around and able to do things. So I wasn't like in one of those really low funks, but I was just in this funky mood. And I posted yesterday, I tried to make videos a couple of times, and it just sounded like blah, 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 and I didn't want to hear it. So I know I was in a weird mood, and that was a strange place to be in, because when you don't even want to hear your own opinions, what does that say about you? And then I was reading, there's been like no good news in the news lately at all, none. And I've been thinking about, God, I'm so lucky I don't have kids, because how would you explain to kids what a misery life is and what it's going to be? Because I don't see it getting any better. I just see it getting worse. I've been hearing since the 70s how it's going to get better, how we're going to fix it for our children and our grandchildren. And we haven't. We've made it worse. And we were the children back then, and we were the grandchildren back then. And now we're adults and we have children, and some of us already have grandchildren, and it's gotten so much worse than it was back then. So I just don't see how you turn around to your offspring and say, oh, we're going to make it better for you. Life's going to be great. It's not. It's just not. Sorry. Life sucks because we fucked it up here in America. Badly. Really badly. And it started with my parents' generation, and it's gone downhill ever since. That's just the facts. My grandparents' generation was like the peak of building it up, and then my parents' generation came and started tearing it down again. And they put everything on credit card. They laughed, they smoked, they drank, they had a great time. They put it all on the card, and now we're in this mess. And my generation can't get along because we just fight constantly. We've gotten into these two camps that just spatter at each other, about 20% right, 20% left, and 60% that are just so disgusted and tuned out that no matter what you tell them, they just don't care. And unless their hair is on fire, they're not active. They're not going to engage in anything at all. So that's just where we are. Now, that feeling is real to me. It is real to me. There is no denying it. To me, my feelings for my spirituality are real to me. There's no denying it. when people have, let's say they're extreme right and they're really into like listening to Rush Limbaugh or something, and they really believe and they fear those things that Rush tells them to fear, that's really real to them. And they have every right to believe that. Whether you believe it or not, it's real to them. And it struck me, I was having a conversation online with a friend of a friend, this is where this always ends up. It's always a friend of a friend that kind of unlocks things for me lately. And they were like, the typical right-wing douchebag, which I don't mind, because I'm a douchebag and an asshole too. And my feelings and my thoughts and my understandings are real to me. And until you can give me a reason to change my mind, I'm not going to. I will listen, but then I'm going to follow up with a lot of questions. And if you don't have the answers, I will never change my mind. It's just that's the way I'm built. I will never, ever change my mind unless you can convince me that I'm wrong. And I have changed my mind on hundreds and thousands of things over my lifetime. But it takes a real conversation to have that. And in our country, we're losing that. But these fears that people have and that we criticize and that we ridicule, and we ridicule it on both sides, and we criticize on both sides. The right wing says the left is very arrogant and snotty, and we are. And we on the left say that the right is ignorant and stupid and mean-spirited, and they are. And it just is, and they're fearful. And the left is fearful. And if you don't get the situation is, if you don't understand that these feelings we're having are real and you make them real for each other, then you're missing out on an opportunity to communicate. Instead of shutting it down and saying, well, this is just crap, you have to say, okay, your feeling right now is real. Let's see. And my feeling is real. Let's see how we got to each other's feeling, and let's see how we can get through it and maybe conjoin the real feelings and make a third feeling or a new feeling. But we don't really do that. We don't take the time. Instead, we get exhausted and we wear out. So, and that's true with people coming out, or their spiritual or religious beliefs, or any kind of belief they have. If they believe that spick and span cleans their kitchen tiles more than Pine Sol, or whatever minutia in the universe you can think of, as long as you believe it and as long as you feel it, it's real. And I remember a wonderful piece of television mastery that was written just on this topic. And you can go back and you can easily look for it on YouTube and in other archives. And it's a Golden Girls piece. And in this Golden Girls piece, the ladies have been robbed while they were out. And they were robbed, and so the house was kind of turned inside out and everything, and really nothing major was stolen, but Betty White Rose had this, thing that the burglars were still coming back. The burglars were still going to be there. And the burglars were still in her mind there. And she started freaking out. And then she went and got a gun. And she accidentally shot the gun at Blanche and her date and broke a vase, which caused a dangerous situation. And then when she was confronted, she said, I understand they're not here. I understand they're not here. But in my mind, they still are. And that's where a lot of people are these days. In their mind, it exists. It really does. I mean, we talk about the right-wing bubble, or the right-wingers talk about the government-controlled media. In their mind, it is just that. And you can't convince them otherwise, because they really believe that. So, as opposed to hurling insults at each other, we have to understand these are valid things, whether we believe them or they make any sense or not. Whether they have any legitimate fact in nature or in any other way, it doesn't matter. As long as you believe it, it exists. Think about world religions. There is no proof ever of any of these religions, but they exist and they will exist because people will believe them. That's it.